Welcome everyone to our Sales Academy session. So with that, I will introduce our speaker for today. So I've known Laura for quite a while. She is actually a WeWork member. That is just a happenstance. We don't. I recognize the building because she is also here in Melbourne. I recognize the artwork when she joined. She was laughing about that. Little fun human fact, she is probably really happy to be back at her location there on Exhibition Street because she has had the wonderful pleasure, much like many of us have, of parenting while also growing a very fast-moving, demanding role for the company that you'll be hearing a little bit about today. So being a new mom and a very hardworking professional all in Melbourne lockdown is definitely something that has been a growing experience, shall we say? Can we put a positive spin on it that way? And appreciates being in at a physical location and having that little bit of division between work and family life. So with that, we will jump into talking about providing world-class customer experience and support. Just to frame where Laura is coming from on this topic, she has spanned the gambit of experience ranging from starting her own company and building her own technology and selling it, as well as working for some very large heritage brands. And now over the last couple of years has really found her groove, helping to grow high growth scale ups. I think we'd consider Patter, as well as some of the other previous organizations, a pretty concrete scale up, but that work on really exciting things for sizable clients, leveraging the best in technology and innovation. So with that, I will hand over the mic to you.
Thanks, Ren. Thank you so much for inviting me over here to speak today with the WeWork community and the broader startup community. As Ren mentioned, I am Laura Akland-Viena. I'm currently head of growth at Patter, which is a conversational AI platform that powers customer experience for the likes of Twitter, Fortnite, Flight Centre, you name it, a lot of different organizations. I'm leading Patter's go-to-market strategy, which entails sales enablement, partnership, and various customer experience initiatives. Hence, I'm here to share some of the learnings that we've had through our journey. What we will cover today, so today's topic is how to provide world-class customer experience and support. First up, before we dive into the how, into the practical details, I want to get into the challenges that businesses face in the world where customers expect availability from you whenever and wherever. What having unfortunate gaps in your customer experience means for your business and for your bottom line. And finally, let's go into the resolution. How can we make sure whatever tools we're using, we are supercharging the experience that your customers are facing? So first up, a little on business challenges. We've worked with over 800 different projects on a global level. But there are some things that keep coming back over and over again, no matter how big organization is or what vertical they're in. First up is the inconsistent customer experience. So from customer's point of view, you engage with a brand on Facebook or their website, and you may not get the same responsiveness rate. Hence, all of us are, jumping into Twitter when issues arise, because we know that often we'll get a response much faster than reaching out to them via customer support form. At the same time, functionality is often also different. Some of the tools provide some information, some can actually allow you to action certain things, apply, book meetings, you name it. But often it's inconsistent. On the other hand, from teams' point of view, they have to work with a lot of different tools. They don't have a unified inbox to see all of the conversations coming in, reaching from customers, prospects, community members, you name it. And they struggle jumping from one window to another. Often in large organizations, some individuals are siloed just to look specifically after a certain channel, and others look after certain. And if they have different tone of voice, clearly the experience is inconsistent at all as well. Bottom line is another challenge. Customer experience is extremely important, and I'm glad that you actually joined for this conversation over here. What we've seen though with some businesses, contact centers and anything customer support is a bit of there's a strong relationship with a cost center, but businesses often invest more into initiatives that drive revenue. So it can be hard to kind of invest more into technology and different projects in the space. Mind you though, especially if you're a large organization, chances are you have hundreds of people in the contact center, content moderation team, you name it, and it all adds up. If you can prove that you are bringing a saving, even it's just a single digit saving, it will be a huge impact for the business, because they are currently spending millions of dollars every year just to support their customers. And one more thing I would like to point out, especially for those that are doing any B2B sales, that any SaaS enterprise buying decision involves a lot of complexity. The buying organization may have the lack of resources, they may not have funding, they have complicated bureaucratic approval processes, and most importantly, I would say they may not have the widespread support to drive any other initiatives. I appreciate a lot of you are a little bit different in a way that you are startups, maybe one-man band. You may not have a large organization behind you, but I guess because of that, it's even more important to ensure that the customer experience is spotless, especially on digital channels, if that's where customers are finding you. You may not have a strong brand to back you up, but you can provide an engaging, exciting, effective experience for your customers by using various different technologies out there. One more thing that's beautiful about working with startups is the fact that they don't often need a strong hard ROI calculation to prove their business case to invest into anything like that. They often rely on gut feeling and some other common sense and just examples out there in the industry what has worked and what hasn't. And the most important factor is often just buying from yourself to actually invest into anything like it. So this is kind of business challenges that we face in our daily conversations with customers. The next thing I'd like to mention is just a few stats. There's so much research in the customer experience space. A few things that stood out for me is the fact that businesses can be required to monitor up to 12 distinct customer channels. This is a huge amount. When you think about it, it's not just Facebook and your website. There's so much more. There's email, there's phone, you name it. Often, unfortunately, customers don't get the experience or the response that they were after what they were intending to receive. So they jump to another channel. And I haven't put it on this slide, but what it often means to the business is that they, statistically speaking, that costs them upwards of $30 per each interaction when people are jumping from one channel to another. So you want to avoid that kind of a frustration. You want to resolve whatever the customer came for in the one channel. Another favorite of ours is quoting the 5-minute rule. It is calculated that 5 minutes means if responding to customers in under 5 minutes means they are 100 times more likely to connect and 21 times more likely to qualify. Speed is incredible. Now, I do have a question to the audience. If you can put that in the chat, what do you think? What is the average for businesses to respond to customers? How long does it take for them to respond? What's your best guess? Can we have any guesses? 8 hours, Mark. All right. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I'm with you. 24 hours, at least. Yep. Been there. I'm sure we all had some responses coming through even later than that. Right. Yeah, 46 hours. And it's getting worse and worse, guys. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, thank you, Murray. You're not wrong. Research is mixed, but it's definitely calculated in hours. One of the research pieces that I picked up from SuperOffice is businesses take 12 hours and 10 minutes to respond to customers when 88% of customers expect a response within an hour. Huge difference, isn't it? All right, so that's a little bit on statistics. There is one more thing that I would like to point out from another resource, the same SuperOffice resource. They actually based it on the CMO Council research that looked into the most important attributes of a good customer experience according to the customers themselves. And as you can see, what's important for them is fast response time is the number one. And then consistency across channels, what we were talking about so far, knowledgeable staff and so on and so forth. But again, speed is critical. 48 hours is not acceptable. So now we understand where customers are coming from and what's important to them and how that affects the business. Do we just go and fix it like that? Not so simple, unfortunately. And I'm sure if you're running business or team or any other project, you would have faced the same dilemma, which we often refer to as the triple constraint principle. So when it comes to time, you often want to measure the time. How long does it take to respond to an inquiry? And you want to do it quickly, right? When it comes to cost, you measure what is the cost of that inquiry, resolving a ticket or whatever it may be in your world, and you want to do it cheaply. Hence, a lot of outsourcing is happening to overseas countries or the simple automation being considered. When it comes to quality, of course, you want to respond well and provide the right information or action that the customer came for, and you want to do it well. But the dilemma is in the fact that when you're trying to combine them all together, there's a bit of a pull and push energy happening. So when you want to have things done cheaply and quickly, what gets sacrificed is the quality. When you want things to be done cheaply and well, it doesn't happen quickly. And when you want things to be done well and quickly, that is not cheap. But as a business, you just have to make some calls and make certain, decisions over how you want to act, where you're investing. If you know that right now your pain point is time, work on that. But see, how you can, not sacrifice certain other elements that are important to your customer experience. We are big believers that business communication with customers has unsustainable growth and attainable scale because of all of the other things I mentioned. And that limits their ability to achieve their strategic goals while maintaining efficiency, effectiveness, and empathy. But again, there are solutions for that. And before I dive specifically into practical tips into how to design great conversational experiences and support your customers, I wanted to give you a little bit of background into conversational AI. There are a lot of misconceptions in the world over what conversational AI or AI can do. And there is a really good resource that I like going back to over and over again. Rasa has built an incredible conversational AI community. I joined some of the conferences before, and they wrote this really incredible article about the 5 levels of AI, how it has evolved. Now, keep in mind, I've been in this world for only, 2 minutes, literally. So there are many more knowledgeable people in the space. But what they're saying here definitely resonates with me. When you look at the beginnings of the chatbot or virtual assistant world, what was more common is just having a simple web form where you're asked an exact question and you give an exact response in the exact format, or even command line being used. It's still being used. It's common amongst developers, but there is a huge learning curve, steep learning curve for people to consider if they were to go and interact with the business by using command lines. That has evolved since. And that's that little screenshot at the top of the screen. In the middle, you can see an example of a basic chatbot. So what they entail, and I'm sure you've all used a chatbot before, and it was a pretty basic chatbot if it failed very quickly on you. The reason it fails is because there is a fixed intent. So the goal that you want, as a user that you came to achieve, you typically have only one, and there's one predetermined in the chatbot. And if you deviate from that, it fails. There is a fixed response statement to whatever you may ask, and there is a very clear defined if logic. So it's a very linear process. And naturally, we as humans, we don't speak like that. There's a lot of forwards and backwards, upwards, downwards, you name it. So it's hard to meet customer experience, expectations. What it has evolved to since is contextual assistance. So ideally, there's still one clear objective that the user of the bot wants to achieve, but the bot is able to pick up a nuance, and it allows for the user to change mind, correct themselves, add some additional information, and it will still pick it up, and it will be able to thread things properly. Level 4 is more consultative assistance. So users talk in their own way. It's the assistant's job to figure out, how to help. And I haven't put on the screen level 5, but that's an adaptive assistant where, the bot picks up any cues and adjusts the responses and actions given. Make sure that the task is completed while carrying over context. It's mind-blowing. Now, the question is, where are we now in this world? We are not on level 5 as a society, is not just pattern in itself. Any bot that you may have faced with, it's not a generically understanding you well and just, having a conversation, with you randomly and, resolving everything. It's not even within the level 4 domain. It's more within the level 3. But again, there's a lot of innovation happening. A lot of organizations are learning from the existing conversations and what customers want, and it keeps evolving, which is fascinating. Every other week, I keep reading about some fantastic innovations in the space. One example I would like to mention is Flight Centre. So these guys, we work with them. It's a travel agent, a global one, originated in Australia. And as you can imagine, during COVID, they were hardly hit with inquiries about how can I get my refund? And they had a very small team to address queries coming through, and they knew that they had to employ some automation to help them, assist with some frequently asked questions or even action certain things. So we work with them to fully understand their dilemma, their world, their customers, and very quickly put together a solution that was very flexible, as in it was able to understand whether it's a sales inquiry, support inquiry, refund inquiry. And even if a user mentions a word like a deal, it doesn't default and assume, oh, this person wants a new deal in the middle of COVID. No, it looks at the context. Maybe the person asked for, hey, how do I get a refund for this deal that I purchased last month, or whatever it may be. So there was a lot of contextual nuance to understand and actually support the customer. And they truly, truly appreciated that, because that, people were getting responses within, seconds rather than within days, like as per the examples in the chat over how long things can take. Okay, let's get into the practical stuff. So how to provide world-class customer experience. Another question to the audience: have you guys tried designing a bot before? Have you got any automation or even a live chat on any of the channels that you are using for your business or personally? Imagine many of you may have not, because when I tried it for the first time, straight away got in the loop and it wasn't quite working the way it was meant to work. But anywho, yes, Elise, thank you. On our website, Facebook Messenger and Google Messenger, perfect. Great effort there. No, Angeline, thank you. Lincoln, unfortunately, no. Cool. So no matter, if you're thinking about something like that for now or in the future, I would like to share some practical tips that you can deploy no matter whether you're building something in-house or hopefully using some other solutions out there in the market, because the market is extremely competitive. There are a lot of different solutions out there for different needs. Ren, I have one of my own startups in the past. Cool. So when it comes to strategy, you first of all have to put your customer first. You have to get into their shoes. You have to understand your audience. If you are selling something to businesses, so you're in a B2B business, there's an often common assumption that, my audience is the CMOs and CIOs and the CTOs of this world. They might be the one signing the check. But when it comes to your actual customer that does the digging to understand how credible your organization is, most probably someone more junior, more practical, who is researching your website or your social media channels and interacting with you. So keep in mind when you're providing certain information that it's not necessarily just talking about the strategic level about how we are here to help you generate revenue, but you're more practically providing some useful day-to-day information. In the B2C world, what's a common misconception is that, live chats and web chats, they're only used by the millennials. Research shows that is not the fact. It's quite a diverse mix of people that may be tapping into that tool. You have to think about customer goals. Customers start a conversation with you for a reason. There is an intent. That's a very common term in our world, an intent in mind. So have a think about, what do customers want to achieve? When you think about the Flight Centre example, they knew that there were people, eager to get a refund or eager to book another flight or eager to, submit a support question, or, it could be even more detailed than that. There can be like tens of different scenarios. Think about your purpose. If you're investing into something more interactive like that, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to simply provide more information, easier to understand information about your product? Do you want to provide a bit of a feel for your personality, your business, or simply provide more ways for customers to contact you? It may start with automation, but at the end, it may lead to a live chat conversation with someone. And also think about, what do you want customers to think, feel, do? An example for thinking could be, hey, I didn't realize you can do such and such and such. Or feel, hey, this is awesome. My search is over. I found what I wanted. I'm going ahead with you guys. Or what do you want them to do? Maybe buy, sign up something, read up something, whatever it may be. So have a think about, again, customer first. Moving on from the strategy, you have to kind of start looking into the design of the conversational experience. And now that we understand the customer, now we have to understand the context of that customer. So where are they engaging you? And, in this ideal world, you go omni-channel, your brand is available everywhere, but as you know, we're all resource strapped and we can't be absolutely everywhere. So go where your customers are. Like one of you mentioned, Facebook Messenger, Google Messenger, website. I'm pretty sure they are the channels where your customers are, talking to you. So definitely be there where they are. When you have automation in mind, the bot, in place, of course, the experience can happen anytime, 24/7, around the clock, right? But also keep in mind that if you are providing, and hopefully you are providing still ways for people to contact you live, to contact your humans, you are very clear about the expectations that, your team is not available between these hours, or someone will get back to you in X number of hours, or whatever it may be. The experience can differ between, what people see and how they engage with everything in the middle of the night, during your, off your business hours, or how they act during the middle of the day. Think about your tone of voice. It's a brand question, not so much a conversational experience question, but are you loud? Are you softly spoken? Are you upbeat or relaxed? Are you, brave or safe brand, intellectual or simple, funny or not really? Try to maintain that. We often want to cram in so much information into the bot, but that never really works. Bring in some personality, have some space for that, and make it a bit exciting for you to engage, for the customers to engage with you. Also think about the actions that users can take. Now, another misconception, maybe less common these days, but sometimes customers think about, businesses think about just launching a bot just for one purpose, let's say doing sales, and that's it, nothing support related. But the customers, the users don't think like that. They think, oh, there is a bot, I'll ask a question, I'll get an answer for whatever I want. So you have to think about multi-function approach. And if you're having large teams, let's say in sales support or marketing or whatever it may be, that you also transfer that information accordingly through their respective teams. Bots can be informational and transactional. And by transactional, I mean, not necessarily, swiping their credit cards and suddenly, they paid for something. It can provide some other action. Maybe they can fill out a form to be qualified for a loan, or maybe they can book a meeting or something like it of that nature. Regardless, when it comes to a range of actions, chances are you'll have to think about certain integrations. Think about the systems that you're using. Is it easy to integrate with them? Usually the bot provider will sort it out for you, but integrations definitely help it. You don't want things just to be manually, looked after and another system to deal with. And you have to tailor things to your business logic. So it's not just about how you form the language, but also, what actions actually happen. Maybe something gets, switched on within the support team when some request, gets escalated because of the negative sentiment caused by some rude language or whatever else it may be. So you can pre-program a lot of these things these days. How to provide a world-class customer experience when it comes to the actual journey of designing it. There is no end date. It's an ongoing journey. But when you start with a design, you create the dialogue flow. Often you have draft one and you make a lot of stuff changes because you learn, as you go and get feedback from your team members or your customers themselves. You define brand tone and voice, build language and actual assets. You prepare everything. And then you blend everything together in the build stage. So you implement various integrations, you authenticate your account on Twitter or whatever else it may be. You enable your dialogue, train your natural language model, connect to your knowledge base, library, other centers where people will be tapping for information. Test. Please don't go live before testing. It's critical. Embarrassing mistakes happen. So you want to preview and test your conversation dialogue before going live, and even after that, if you're making some iterations, and hopefully you are making iterations, you're testing things and fine-tuning things. There are such things like confidence thresholds in AI models, in natural language understanding models, where you can, use actually, people to help, understand better, what certain intents or certain keywords mean and how to best facilitate the response to the customer. And again, iteration, hopefully whatever tool you're using, you're accessing a bunch of useful metrics that will help you further design the experience. Or at what points people drop off, why do they drop off? Where do they get stuck? All of that information can be easily tracked these days. Some tricks of the trades, a few must-dos. So start small, define a realistic scope. Don't go nuts, thinking that, you have to have all the bells and whistles. Start with something and iterate on that. Listen, learn, build your expertise. It never stops. You don't have to be an complete expert from day one, but you'll definitely build your expertise. Hand over complex questions to humans. Don't think that bot can answer absolutely everything. And of course, the abilities are improving, but sometimes people just want to talk to people. So give that option for them. Be friendly, have personality. Don't just do blocks of text, add some emoji, add some GIFs, make it fun. Use good, great call to actions and explain why it's important for people, what they will be getting out of taking a certain action. Use your audience's language. So, if you're going to a foreign country and it's something other than English, then of course, adapt the language, or, even think about the slang, the vocabulary that's common in the certain segment group that you are targeting. Also keep in mind, we've all been there. We also get kind of stuck in using our own vocabulary and our own buzzwords, but outside your office doors, people don't quite get it. So try to make it super simple. Have compelling and engaging content, the kind of content that you would want to receive. Again, this is not a place for an essay about your product. Keep it very snappy. I know we all fall in love with certain things that we figure out how to word, but we have to really shorten things when it comes to conversational experiences. Also give options to people. So when they interact with you, can make it quick, give them quick reply options, so buttons, or allow them to type in and for the system to pick up what is it that they're saying here. There is a next level. So that's just the basic, get that sorted. But then there's some amazing things that you can do in this world. So this is more about reactive conversations where you respond to customers as they reach out to you, but you can also be proactive. Maybe you are in a business where people would appreciate certain special offers, or maybe you are in a business where you continuously disrupt your customers, like transport operators, unfortunately. Giving proactive, personalized, real-time alerts is fabulous, works really well. Another field where AI can come in very handy is marketing, conversational marketing. We are quite known for various different campaigns we've run on Twitter. And we've given brands various different tools to engage audience beyond, ads and people just liking and retweeting tweets. There are some ability, a good example would be Microsoft and Xbox. They ran a really cool experience during one of the gaming events here in Melbourne, PAX, a couple of years ago. They wanted to have an immersive experience online and offline. So they ran a bunch of thread ventures. They ran ways for people to compete by selecting the right combination of emoji, or they allowed people to like a certain tweet and opt in for a certain thread of information about a specific stream related to Xbox. And that was so tailored, so well done. Engagement was like through the roof, and that can be, really fascinating for any brand. So you engage your customers, you're proactively communicating, you're engaging them on social media with some, amazing marketing campaigns. Some of you may have already faced, I'm not sure, but some brands unfortunately get a lot of social media abuse. They get some toxic conversations, abusive, racist, sexist, commentary on their social media posts. And, that's not a good look. And that definitely is not a healthy conversation and not a healthy community. And brands have the responsibility to maintain that, especially in Australia, where social media page owners are liable for any defamatory comments on their social media posts. So you can actually get a tool such as PATA, where you can easily identify toxic content and take some action. Maybe it's a reply, maybe it's a removal, maybe it's a hit, hiding the response or whatever it may be. But it's important, especially when you're acting on scale and you're getting a lot of conversations at one time and you can't handle everything, consequently, one by one over time. So as a negative side of the social media, there is an upside as well. Social media allows you to highlight your brand champions, as we call them often, super fans. And there are ways where you can easily identify the most engaged customers of yours or community members of yours and actually reward them, incentivize further, and you kind of boost that organic growth even further. Troubleshooting. So we've covered all the good stuff. A couple of other things to mention is like what goes wrong. Again, I mentioned, keep coming back to that because it's so critical. Too much text, avoid it. If people have to scroll through a block of text, cut it down. It's not the right look, not the right experience. Keep, especially that when it comes to high traffic points, keep content short and sweet and not repetitive. If it's always the same answer to customers, it's just boring, mix it up, have a variety of different responses. It's also common to get stuck in a loop. So always have a think about the escape path, and there can be different ways to implement that depending on, how it's all designed. But, from a simple thing like having a button that you always click and it takes you back to the homepage or something like that, you can definitely consider. And privacy and security is a big hot area because you need to make sure that you are aligned with the law, such as GDPR. If you are collecting some private information, personal information, don't collect credit card details for the sake of it. Use a safe payment gateway for that information. Like, you don't want to be in the news for wrong reasons. So safety first. A few other misconceptions before I finish up. Some people come to us and say, oh, I need so much data to get going. Actually, you don't. Things can be tailored and improved as you're going. So you don't need a ton of data to have a successful conversational experience. They often also say, oh, I need, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data expertise, so pretty much a unicorn. And we often say no as well. Like, these days you can have some fascinating interfaces that are low code, no code, and they provide you with all the tools to actually manage the conversation and keep improving it. Just because you built it, it doesn't mean people will come. We have to think about a launch strategy. If you are measuring certain success metrics, such as usage or whatever else it may be. Having said so, to grow usage, please do not have too many pop-ups or pings. It's quite intuitive just to have a bot sitting, let's say, on your website on the right-hand corner, and that's more than enough. You don't want to annoy people because people already have to accept the cookie policy and anything else that's important to your market. So just be respectful of customers and let them choose when they want to engage with you with a conversational tool. And don't over-engineer. So again, don't try to turn on everything or build it for a global audience when your audience is actually a local one. Or straight away think about how to scale architecturally if you have millions of conversations happening at the same time, when in reality you will be getting just a handful. So one baby step at a time and you'll be fine. So in summary, how to provide world-class customer experience and support. Keep in mind that every conversation has a purpose. There is an intent in mind. There is a reason why people reached out to you, and there is impact. So you can measure that impact. You can measure the effectiveness of the conversation. You can understand your customers, and you should understand your customers really well before you endeavor on any such project. You should tailor the experience to make sure it's giving plenty of flexibility to customers, representing your brand well, and just keep iterating, keep improving, learning, looking at data on a regular basis. We will be issuing a white paper on the same topic with some more expanded information later this quarter, and I'd be very happy to share that with you. So just flick me an email and I'll just get that over to you as soon as that is released. But that is it from me.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for making time to share your valuable knowledge with us, Laura. It's always great hearing from you, and hopefully we'll see you again on a future program. And I'll definitely see you around the office. I'll be over to Exhibition Street sometime soon. I haven't been over that way just yet. And thank you everyone for joining us for this session. I know it's not exactly the most exciting kind of subtopic under the sales banner, but it is certainly one that is extremely valuable. So I can almost guarantee you that if this is something you're thinking about in terms of your sales growth and strategy, you're on the right path, and you'll have a competitive advantage because of that. And lastly, we do have a session coming up this Thursday, so 2 days from now, with Zoe from July Luggage. She's also formerly of CoinJar and a number of other Melbourne-based startups. She's a brilliant marketing and customer service mind, and we will be talking about customer retention and loyalty. And so you've worked so hard to get these customers and clients. You've built these amazing resources to give them a world-class customer experience. How do you make sure that you really leverage that to the fullest extent of its ability and make the most of those loyal, happy customers? So with that, I will call it a day and give you guys 8 minutes back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bren. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Have a good day.